that mixed in with the athletes and the coaches or the announcers like yourself, people that were a part of it. I thought it was a little bit of a different spin on, like you said, a story that's been told in all different ways.
Yeah, I think if you want to get an interesting book for your favorite sports fan and for Christmas, this would be a good one to get. And although I have no idea what Amazon is, I heard on your show that you can get it through Amazon, and I know most people know what Amazon is. I always thought it was a great big woman with a spear who went through the jungle killing men, but Amazon must have progressed to something a little more modern.
I think Wonder Woman was an Amazon too, if I remember right. So,
well, in a way, she was, except the Amazon, the real Amazon, to show their strength and their determination, they had their left breast burned off. Now that's determination, wow. Jerry. That's determination.
That is hardcore.
I don't know if any of that is true, but I've read that was a mark of determination among the Amazon women, is that they did that to show how tough they were.
That's amazing. See, now there is something that I definitely didn't think that I would learn here on the show, and that's awesome. That's incredible. We're talking to Joe TAIT. You're listening to the Sports Fix. I referenced that you're such a. It's funny. This book kind of shows for people that don't know outside how much you're entwined in a lot of the Cleveland sports, because whether it's the Cavs of Richfield, whether it's Len Barker's perfect game, whether it's the Cavs of the 80s or LeBron and the NBA Finals teams there, you were a key part in all of those chapters and all of those eras of Cleveland sports.
Jerry, I don't know how key I was, but I was there. And when you've been in a market for 40 years, you have a tendency to run through a lot of moments, good and bad. And so I guess I can say that, I remember those things, and people love to talk about them. And the only thing that I have retired from talking is the beer night riot. I have been just beaten down with people who want to do the beer night riot. In fact, I actually got a call the other day from some production company that wants to make a movie out of the beer night riot. And wow. I said, if you make a movie out of the beer night riot, A, I won't help you, and B, I sure as heck won't see it.
Wow, making a movie about that. I remember talking to you about that on the show before. Those were some of my favorite quotes. But I mean, really, that's a dark time. I'm sure you do get asked a lot about. I'm sure the Miracle of Richfield. I'm sure that you've told those stories so many different times. What is it like for you? Do you mind that going back? Because so many people, even having you on the show here today, we've heard from literally dozens of people already this morning saying how much you were a part of those. Like, I know you said, I don't know how key I was, but to the fans that were listening, you were, because you were the voice to a lot of them that connected them and that they remember to all of those moments.
Well, I think that's the beauty of radio. I was still Gib Shanley, the former Cleveland Browns announcer, who was, for 1964, he broadcast the Browns championship, and there were a whole lot of folks that learned about it through his play-by-play, and he rode that horse for a long, long time. And the Miracle in Richfield is the same thing for me, or Barker's perfect game. People remember it, they remember you, and it's all part of Cleveland lore. I'm delighted I was there. And I get fewer and fewer interview opportunities, and frankly, I'm just as happy that there are fewer and fewer interview opportunities.
Talking about the Miracle of Richfield, you've always described that being so real, the fans, just that being such a unique thing and such an organic I think on a show I asked you, I used that word and you said orgasmic, but that experience there, did Vince do a good job of capturing that and explaining that in the pages of the book?
Yeah, it's it is really one of those things you almost had to be there to appreciate. That's why I'm always amused when, nothing against good old Ahmad, who was a very nice man, but, he starts screaming 10 minutes before the game starts, and, they're probably pumping motor oil into his throat by the end of the game. But there wasn't any of that. Why did the people get excited? Because the team won and the team played hard. The team gave you a full night's entertainment without smoke and exploding scoreboards and videotrons. There was none of that. And those who went through the miracle year and remember those crowds when, for instance, Freddie Mad Dog Carter, playing for Washington at the time, he actually had to get up and hold the blackboard on the wall for Casey Jones, the Washington coach, because the crowd was making so much noise, the wall was vibrating, and Casey couldn't finish writing his plays up there until somebody held down the scoreboard. And that
Wow.
the only reason the scoreboard vibrates today is somebody just set off about 6 M80s, and in my way of thinking, it's sad. It really is, because nothing beats. I still go around to these high school games out here, and nothing beats the true excitement of the fans responding to a great game. And if it's not a great game, they shouldn't be required to respond to it. And, the modern theory is, well, if they're not responding and the game is not very good, we are going to jack this thing up another 40%. And I remember a guy who was a very, very prominent, in fact, for all I know, he's still wandering around the NBA. He said the thing we should do in marketing and promotion is to fill the arena even if the team doesn't play. And when I was in the meeting that he espoused that, I got up, I told him what I thought of his family and what I thought of his lack of brains, and I walked out because people believe that. I mean, there are guys in the organization who believe that will be the way you should go. And it's sad. It's really sad that there is that mentality floating around professional sports.
And I know we've talked about that. Last time you were on, you said that too. That was one of the biggest dislikes you had with the modern game. I'll tell you what, Joe, and I know you said you didn't see the game last night. I was there last night for the last 3 years, obviously, since LeBron left and the problems that they've had rebuilding. Last night, if you'd have took away the smoke and the all the mirrors that they have, because you are right, it is excessive. It drives me nuts because even when they play now, the music keeps playing. Like, I always thought the music stopped when the play was on the court, but now they keep it going pretty much nonstop. But if you'd have took it all away last night, I told people that it was the most electric I'd seen a Cavs crowd probably since the finals, probably since those good days there. I mean, it was almost like 3 years of bad basketball. It was almost like they were just relieved. It made me feel good about the Cleveland Cavs fan base because they stayed strong. Hey, even keeping 15,000, 16,000 coming during the last few years, they stayed strong. I mean, it shows that Cleveland Cavaliers fan base is very, very dedicated, not to one player, but to that Cavalier jersey, even today.
Or that they have multi-season tickets and can't get rid of them for anything else. But I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear that response was there last night. And that's good, and I hope it keeps up. And I hope the team rewards those fans with much improved play. I'd love to see them make the playoffs again.
But you're right. There was nothing. No matter what about the Q, there's nothing that matched the Coliseum. I mean, that was, as a kid, that was where I grew up on Cavs basketball during those 80s teams. And, I mean, to me, even nothing like taking that drive out there to Richfield, that building, and it was still in such, we talked about this before, it was so prematurely put to bed too.
Well, that's true. The most beautiful thing about that building was they had that inner walkway all the way around, a wide concourse inside. And if you walked into the building and you looked across the way and you saw Aunt Maudie sitting over there on the other side, you could walk around, sit down before a game, and talk to Aunt Maudie. But now you walk into the queue, and if you don't have a ticket next to Aunt Maudie, there is no way in God's world that you're going to get to her, because the security folks and the ushers are going to make sure you go to your seat and that she stays in hers. So, that's kind of sad, but I can understand with the configuration of the queue why, they have to do that.
It's 100% true, too, because like last night, I've got my media pass and I was transferring from the basement. I was heading up to the media section and I wanted to watch something. So I stopped in one of the concourses in the middle, and right away somebody comes up. Can I see? Oh, you've got your pass. But like, they're on you right away. There is no meandering and talking and finding anybody. You've got to be ticketed or you've got to keep it moving there. And that's just differences now, like you said, that take it. But, it is great to talk about the old. Some people don't like to. I love getting a chance to talk about the old days because I think, those that don't pay attention to history obviously don't learn from it as well. But, getting a chance to talk to a guy who was there through it like yourself is just an honor to me. First off, I do want to thank you again for joining us here on the show. Comments keep coming in. Craig from Alliance says, Joe Tait loves you. He's glad you do the Mount Union games, and you've always been one of his favorites. And we've gotten dozens of comments like that just since we've started talking to you here. You definitely have made an impact on a lot of people that have listened to you over the years.
Well, he mentions Mount Union, and that has been a labor of love for me for 27 years. That whole program down there is really the culmination of hard work and going out and finding the right people to play and to get an education and have the education as important as the football. And I think the fact that when Pierre Garçon, who was at Mount and was All-American and took the team to the Stag Bowl for the championship, he goes to the pros, he comes back and gets his degree, something that he really didn't have to do, but he did. That tells you something about the kind of athlete that they're putting through Mount Union. These guys are there for an education, and they want to play good football, and, success breeds success. And just being associated with Mount for 27 years has been an enjoyable, very enjoyable part of my life.
Hey, we talked about that before, how you planned on keep doing that. I think that's awesome that you have that. And plus it allows you to have something to focus, because you're still a broadcaster, a communicator. I know doing radio, I feel a lot of the same things about, it's theater of the mind. You are the bridge between people that can't see what you see, and you put that in their mind. And nobody does it better than you, by the way. But
well, thank you. I think, I can see the end of the tunnel for my Mount Union days, too. How long that will be remains to be seen. But, I really, one thing that bugs me, and I see it on occasion, is guys who stick around and keep doing for many, 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 many years and then go beyond it and can't do well anymore and are just kind of living on their reputation rather than performance. And I could have come back after the surgery probably for another year or two, but I felt that I had really lost, to bring it into baseball vernacular, I felt that I had lost my fastball, and I didn't want to rely on the junk pitching to get by. So that's basically why I hung it up with the Cavaliers.
That's a credit to you, too, because as you said, I'm positive the Cavaliers would have been willing to work within whatever constraints you wanted to come back to work, right?
I have no idea. I never asked them, and they knew that I was going to pull the plug, so I think it was a fait accompli that both sides knew there would be no reason to talk about the future because the future was all said and done.